Hi everyone, this is Madhav. I'm a VP at WAT.ai. I'm going to be guiding you through the very first workshop in our 0 to ML workshop series, where we start off with very basic computer skills like using the command line, that's what you see here, using version control things like Git, learning basic Python programming, and then moving into learning about some machine learning libraries like Pandas, LangChain, NumPy, and so on, as we wrap up by learning about neural networks. This is the websites for the workshops, which will be in the description of this video. And there are some prerequisites that you need to pause and do right now if you want to have a command line interface to work with, like I do right here. Now, these steps can be very involved for Windows, or they are a little bit simpler for macOS, but it will take you 10 minutes if you want to do them. If you don't have it installed, don't worry for now. You can take a look at me using this command line interface and focus on the concepts in this video. So, with that getting started, pause if you want, take a look at the link in the description. Otherwise, when you're ready, you can go to this switch right here and click on Workshop 1. So the first workshop is going to focus on this tool right here, the command line interface. Now, there's a reason why we're getting you guys to learn about this instead of diving straight into machine learning. It's because a lot of the problems you have when working with machine learning software is related to not having the right tools installed, not knowing how to use this tool, the command line interface. Common errors that students have always lead us to spend a lot of time with people trying to explain these basics. So that's why we're going to be learning about the basics from the get-go so that we don't get stuck later on. Now, don't fret. I'm going to show you how to do cool things. By the end of the workshop today, you'll know what I'm doing right here to get a stegosaurus in rainbow colors that is saying cool fortune cookie type sayings. Now this looks pretty cool. By the end of this workshop, you'll know how to do that too, how this all works. So let's get started. The command line interface, as you can see, I was typing to it. It is an alternative to the normal way that you work with the computer. So the normal way is you go and click on things. So if I want to run something, then I can, let's say, click on the Excel icon and it will open up Excel and so on and so on. So the normal way is move your mouse and then click on things. Over here you can see I'm typing to my computer. It's a little bit like texting, texting a friend. What's the advantage of this? Well, there are three things. One, if I asked you, okay, make me a rainbow image of a stegosaurus that is saying fortune cookie sayings, you're going to be at it for a while. You're not going to know what to do if you're trying to point and click places. So with the command line interface, we're able to learn how to test the computer in ways that allow it to do things very quickly. Two, we can also remotely access different computers with these command line interfaces, these applications that let us text when we can't have a mouse and connect it. So for example, when you're working for a company has computers that it owns, these are called servers. It has them located in one place. You can't be at home and plug a mouse into the computer to be able to point and click. You need to be able to text the computer to tell it what you want it to do. The same thing applies at the University of Waterloo. If we want to access the University of Waterloo's computers, aka its servers, we need to use these command line interfaces in order to be able to do so. The last thing is we can combine different commands, just like we can combine different words in a sentence, and create what we call scripts. These are basically like lists of commands. And the computer, it can be like it's following a recipe for us. We give it line by line steps as if it were baking a cake. But in this case, the line by line steps might be doing weird things like creating the stegosaurus that you see here. Anyways, if you'd like to follow along, so Again, you needed to have done the setup. After you've done the setup on Windows and Mac OS, you can just search up the Terminal app and open that up. If you're on Windows, make sure to click the Ubuntu option. On Mac, you can just click this up, and then you'll have something like this come up where you can type in commands, and let's learn how to text the computers together. So when we're texting computers, the first command we're going to learn about with this command line interface, this CLI software, is how to replace our File Explorer application. So as you can see, in a File Explorer application, we can click into different folders. We can, if we click a folder, we can see which files are in the folder. We can click back out of the folder. We can go to different folders. How do we do that same thing, except we want to text the computer instead? There are a few commands that we need to know. The first command is we need to be able to make folders. So on the application, I can create new and then folder. How do we do that on the computer? Well, we want to make a folder. In computer language, a folder is called a directory. So we make a directory. After this, we have to type in the name of the folder we want. So let's say I create uh, test video folder. Okay. Next, I need to be able to change into different folders. So again, folders are called directories. So I use the cd change directory command, and then I type in the name of the folder that I want to go into. So what did I just do here? Well, what I did was the equivalent of making a new folder, like so. I named it test video, and then using the cd change directory command, I clicked into the folder. Now, when I click into a folder, I can see what are the contents of the folders. So how do I do that? Well, we want to list out which other folders, subfolders, or files are in the folder that we're interested in looking at. So the way that we do that is we use the list command, ls. So in the current test video folder, I don't have anything because I just created a new folder, as you saw right here with the make dir command. Now, the thing that we need to do here, let's make it interesting. Let's say we make a new folder. So I'm going to say, folder 2. Now, if I run the ls command, list what the contents of this folder are again, now I can see that there is a subfolder within this current folder. So that would be the equivalence here of, I created this folder, then I create a new subfolder called folder 2, and now I have a folder within a folder. So that's what we're doing here, but we're texting the computer instead. So these commands essential for being able to navigate around the folders that you're in. You have the make dir command to make a new folder, change directory cd to change which folder you're in, and also we have the list command to show which files and folders are in the current folder that you're in. Now, what if you get lost? What if you don't know which folder you're in? Well, there are two clues. So one is you can see the file path as it is so called. So let's say I cd, change directory into the folder 2 I just created. You can see my file path changes so that we append the folders that we're in. This in fact also happens on Mac and Windows. So for example, if I click here, you can see that as I go into different folders, the file path changes. So the file path is the computer's way of representing which folder we're in. Now, one thing you have to know about the cd command, what if you want to go up a level? Here I can just click like so, and I'm up a level. In this case, I have to do cd dot dot. Dot dot is special syntax for go up one level. Here I can do list again, and you can see I've gone up to my test video folder where there's folder 2 inside. Okay, so those are the basics of how we interact with the command line. We text the computer and give it different commands so that we can replace the actions that we perform on this command line. Now, there are a couple of actions that we haven't talked about yet. Before I show you those, I'm going to show you a new command which is useful, which is the clear command. So you run clear and it clears all of the prior text that you've sent to the computer so that you can start putting in new commands. Okay, so right now you can see we created a folder using the make dir command. Now we want to learn how do we create and manipulate files. Okay, so to create a file, one command that we can use is the touch command. I don't know why it's called the touch command, it just is. We do touch file.txt and it creates an empty file. There's nothing in the file. How do we know it's empty? We can use the cat command. I again don't know why it's called cat, but you can put the file name that you have and it will show you the contents of whatever file you specify. So right now it returned nothing because there's nothing in the file. So how do you know, create a file that has some stuff in it? Well, instead of using the touch command, we use a different command, which I'm gonna show you, but it is a little bit complicated. So focus in here. So the first thing to note is there is this command called echo. It is like screaming into a canyon and having an echo back. You type in echo and then within quotation marks, some text. And when you press enter, it's gonna echo whatever the text is back at you. So whatever text in quotes, and it will echo it back to you. Now we will use this command in order to be able to create files with some content in it. So the way that we do that is we use something called an operator. An operator allows us to change what happens with some data. So with echo hello above, the data is hello. I'm sending it to this echo tool and it sends the data back at me, back on the screen. Now, if I want the data to go into a file instead, what I have to do is I have to use this greater than sign. It's what we call an operator. It tells the computer, this particular operator, it tells the computer, take the data that Echo would create, and instead of sending it to the screen for me to see, instead send it into a file. So I can do echo hello, and then greater than symbol with some space around it, hello.txt. If I do ls, you'll see I created a new file called hello.txt. If I use this cat command to show the contents of this file, you can see that the file has some contents in it. So, what have we learned so far? We've learned a bunch of ways that we can replace this File Explorer tool. We learned about the make dir command to make folders. We learned about the cd command to change directories, or aka folders. We learned about the ls relist command to show the contents of a directory or folder. We showed how we can use the touch command to create empty files. And we also showed how we can use the echo command, which usually just echoes things back to the screen, in order to send contents into some file instead. So echo hello in this case, it would usually go to the screen, but because of this greater than operator, it goes into the file hello.txt instead. Let's carry on. So next up, you might notice something. Let's say I put in bye and I put it in hello.txt using the operator. If I cat hello.txt now, one thing you'll notice is that, before it used to have the words hello in it, now it has the words bye, i.e., whatever was in the file was completely overwritten. This is one of the things that you have to worry about with the command line, okay? Whenever you're using a CLI, there is no recycle bin. There is almost never an undo. So you have to be confident and careful about what you're doing. Because in this case, if I wanted to make sure that I don't change the contents of hello.txt, well, one command and whatever the contents were, they're gone. There's no way to get them back. There's no recycle bin, nothing like that. Similarly, let's say I do ls. If I do rm file.txt, this stands for remove the file. Well, if I do rm file.txt, then this file will completely be gone. There is no recycle bin. So you can see it's gone. There's no way for me to get that file back. So you have to be careful about the commands you run. As an alternative, let's say you don't want to overwrite a file, I'll teach you about a new operator. So instead of overwriting a file's content, I can do echo hello. So again, cat hello.txt, you can see right now it has by in it. I can do echo hello and then angle. So greater than, greater than. So two of these. Now if I put it into hello.txt, you can see that, it's still there. And if I cat hello.txt, you can see now that the file has not been overwritten. So before, with just a single greater than sign, that operator overwrote a file's content. With these two greater than signs, this is a different operator. It does something different to the data, and that different thing is take whatever echo would usually send to the console, the screen here, and instead put it into this file. Again, I'm going to type in clear to get rid of all of this content. Okay, so that gets you ready to be able to replace a bunch of these applications. Well, one application, which is the File Explorer. Now let's look into something more complicated. So far, all the commands I've been using, I've just been typing in one word and maybe something after. So that's basically what we would call using a command and an argument. So let's say I want to, ls that has no argument, no data after it. If I want to do cat hello.txt, cat is the command and hello.txt is the argument. What we can do is we can make our commands behave in different ways and in more complicated ways by adding what we call options or flags to the commands. Options start with -l, not -l, they just start with a dash. So for example, ls, it has a dash, and then you can type in different flags. So -l for long format. As you can see, it's showing me more longer details about what is currently in the folder that I'm in. We can also do, let's say, ls-a. This stands for all. This stands for long. So -a, you can see it shows me some files that these are technically folders that I didn't see before. So it shows me all the folders. Now there's also long form. So instead of dash, you could also do dash dash. Let's say ls-all is the same as ls-a. You might be wondering, okay, how do I know which flags I can use with which commands? Usually, almost all commands have a dash dash help flag, which gives you a bunch of text, which you're going to get used to over time. But it shows you, okay, there is a -a flag. It says what this flag does. It shows you that there's a -b flag. It shows you what this does. Usually, it's printed better, but here I'm just a little bit zoomed in. Okay, so that's one way that we can get help in figuring out which flags are possible, okay? Another thing to note is that there's also a command called man. This may or may not exist based on where you're running it. It usually does. So I could say man and then space, the name of the command I want to use. So man is a command, ls is the argument. And in this case, it gives me much, much more information. I'm pressing my up and down arrow keys to scroll. Gives me much, much more information to check, what are the details of how I use this command. As it says down here, I can press Q to quit. So I press Q and I quit. Another thing that I can do often to quit is like, let's say I'm typing something, so ls da 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 da, and like, I messed up. I can type in Control C and it will get rid of whatever I was typing in. It's a good way to quit. On Mac, it might be Command C or Control or some other weird key that you guys have. Okay, so now we know a bunch of basic CLI commands. Now I'm going to show you about different commands that you can do to do more complicated things than just replacing the File Explorer. So the first thing is I want to teach you guys about how we can get new commands to work with. Cool commands, things that other people have created that maybe we don't have downloaded right now. This is one of the primary reasons the workshops ask you to set up Homebrew on macOS or WSL2 on Windows. Just get a command line like this. The reason is that natively, on Windows or macOS, you don't have what we call package managers. Package managers are essential tools for us to be able to download commands or other software that people have published for us to be able to use them. So um, I will just show you the package manager to give you an example. There's a cool command that I have on my computer, which is called cause. So if I do cause hello, again, I need the quotes around the text. I get a cow that is saying hello. Now, if you try and run this on your computer, it won't work because cause is not, it's usually not installed. It's not a software that people usually install on their computer. So if we want to be able to use this command, I had to do some setup before I could use it. The thing I had to do was use a package manager, and on Windows and Linux, so WSL and Linux, the package manager is called apt. On Mac, the um, main page, it had you install Homebrew. So the package manager for Mac is Homebrew, which is brew. So on apt, what I can do is sudo apt install and then cause. So sudo, it stands for super user do. Imagine you guys are, downloading some kind of software, usually asks you, are you sure? And makes you, confirm, give, privileges. I'm the admin, I'm the person who owns this computer. That's what sudo does on WSL or Linux. So super user do, I'm the super user, I'm the person with the most privileges. And then whatever you want to run will give you more permissions to run whatever you want. Be careful. You can very, very easily break your computer with sudo, okay? So be careful when you're running it. apt, again, is the package manager for, Linux or WSL. And then install is the name of the command. And then this is the argument to the install command, which is cause. So we want to install cause. If you try running this, it may work, it may not. Of course, if you're on Mac, it won't work. On Mac, again, package manager is brew, so you need to run brew install and then cause. Now, if you try either this or sudo apt install cause, it may work, it might not. The reason is these package managers, they need to know where to look online in order to be able to download the software that they need. So they need to maintain a record of a bunch of links, a bunch of places on the internet. You go on Google, they go elsewhere. A bunch of places that they can go to download these commands. So what you need to do before you install anything, always run on Linux or WSL sudo apt update, which is what I'm going to run here. It's going to ask you to type your password. Remember, when you're typing in your password, it never shows you, okay? It's going to just be blank, but it is recording, whatever you're typing in. So it's going to do a bunch of weird things, a bunch of text. It's just going online to different places on the internet, and it is making sure that it has all the updated links that it needs to install some software. Then, by the way, on Mac, you run brew update instead of sudo apt update. Homebrew does not like super user do because it's dangerous, so that's why you don't have that. And again, apt on Linux, the version we're using at least, and brew on Mac. Anyways, always run this first, and then you can use the apt install or brew install command. So on Mac, I would now be able to run brew install cause. On Windows, I'm going to run here sudo apt install cause. Now, this isn't going to do anything here because I already have, this package installed. You can see that I just used it. But on your end, you should now be able to do cause hello, and it will be able to, do this cool thing. So what have we learned here? We learned about package managers. Package managers are tools that are built in to Linux, and we download it for Windows or Mac, such that we can apt install or brew install some package name. The package lives online, so we always have to do apt update or brew update before we run the package. or try and install it. That will fetch a bunch of links online to figure out where the package lives and then download it to your computer. So having said all that, what I'd like you to do is I have this package installed called CMatrix. It makes my computer look like the Matrix. I'd like you to pause the video and try updating your package manager and then installing this package yourself. If you've taken a second to do it, so the way that you do it on Mac, brew update and then brew install cmatrix. On Windows, sudo apt update and then sudo apt install cmatrix. Again, it won't do anything because I already have, as you can see, I already have the package here and I can run it like this. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to combine different cool commands. Okay, um, what you need here is a different operator. Recall, we were able to use operators like this to take the usual output of echo and redirect it into a file. A new operator we're going to learn about, it allows you to take the output of one command and instead of sending it to a file, it sends it to a new command. So here's a quick tip, by the way. You can press up arrow to go to prior commands on your terminal and down arrow to go to future commands. I'm going to go to prior commands, go to my sudo apt install. I've already run sudo apt update, so I'm good. I'm going to install a package called Fortune. I want you to install this package as well. Package is just another word for software or tool or something that we're going to use, okay? So Fortune, if I run it, it gives me a Fortune cookie type saying. So the operator we're going to learn about is the pipe operator. It looks like that. It's a vertical bar. It's near your enter key on your keyboard or, top of it, left of it, something like that. So I'm going to do Fortune, put in the operator, and then I'm going to do cowsay. What is this command doing? It's taking the output of this one command, which is a cookie, fortune cookie type saying, and then it runs it through another command. So that's cowsay here. Cowsay, as you'll recall, it prints something in the form of a cow saying something. So before we had to do cowsay hello, we had to give cowsay an argument. In this case, the pipe operator, it takes the output of this and sends it as the input argument of this. Now we can do this multiple times. So another package I'm going to install is lolcat. I'm going to install that here. I already have it, so clear all this. Now I'm going to do the same thing as before. So Fortune creates a random fortune cookie saying. I pass it into cowsay, which creates, some kind of cow saying something on the terminal. Now I'm going to pass that into lolcat. So output of this goes into the input of this. Output of that goes into the input here. And finally, the output of this gives us a rainbow colored cow that, shows up on your screen. Now, one other thing that I'll show you is, at the beginning I showed you a stegosaurus. How do we do that? So what we did was, well, what I did was I looked up some documentation on cowsay. It gave me a bunch of things, including this interesting thing called -f, an option or a flag called -f. So let's look at what -f does. I'm pressing the down arrow to scroll here. So the -f option specifies a particular cow picture file, i.e., we can have different pictures. Well, how do we figure out different pictures? Well, one thing that I found was there is also another option, -l. So if I looked here and found the -l, by the way, you can also ask ChatGPT about these things. Somewhere in here it said do -l and it will show you the different picture files that you can check. I'm going to press Q to quit as it tells me. Then I'm going to do cowsay-l and it shows me, I can print out pictures of a bunny or a cheese or, a bunch of other things. So let's say cowsay, again, -f for the format. That's what the manual told us. Then we need to put in one of these names. So let's say elephant or let's say duck. And then I can pass in an input like hello. So we have a duck saying hello. So up here, I want to get now a Stegosaurus. So you can see a Stegosaurus is one of the options here. So what I'm going to do is, instead of having this, I'm going to slightly modify the command so I get a Stegosaurus here. So again, I can use the up arrow to go back a few commands, left arrow to go back here, and then dash F, Stegosaurus. And you can see now I have my rainbow Stegosaurus saying something. I'd encourage you to take a look, L, try that yourself, check out the different image files we have here, and try getting a different animal to say a fortune quote in rainbow colored text. Now, the last thing that I want to do is I want to show you another essential thing, which is that we are only so far interacting with data on our local computer. So what we want to do is we want to also be able to access data on the internet. So if you have a browser, this is the browser application that we're, replacing with texting commands now. We can go to, let's say, www.google.com, and, it takes us to a website. Well, we can also do that in the command line with two tools. So one tool is called curl, and another tool is called wget. Again, you may have to do apt or brew install, and then curl or wget. So brew install curl or wget. Anyways, if I do curl and then I pass in this, you can see I get a bunch of code back. The reason I'm getting a bunch of code back is it's giving me all the code that creates this website, and that's kind of complicated and icky. So what I'm instead going to do, I run clear to clear the output. I'm going to go to another URL of a cool site, which I'll show you here. So what this site does is it shows you the weather in different locations. So you can see this got me the weather in London right now. So this site is what we call a API, an application programming interface. It's a URL that you can enter that does not return a website, but instead returns data. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go code, and then I'm going to press this. I'm going to make this a little bit wider for a sec. And you can see I got the data back. So by texting, I was able to access the internet. Now we can go to, let's say, ChatGPT and ask it about, some other cool APIs that we can try and hit. So, what are some cool APIs? Again, those are the URLs that return data that students can hit to practice working with curl. So here are some fun APIs. I'm going to try this cats facts API. So copy the code, paste it here, Control C, Control V, or a command if you're on Mac, or something or the else if you're on Mac. And it gives me a cool fact. Now there are some other APIs, you can try them out. So anyways, these are some essential tools that you'll be using a lot whenever you are working with the command line. Now, there's a lot of other stuff that we didn't cover. You can read through it on the documents here. I'm going to show you just a couple of things that might be helpful. So I'm just going to skim and show. One command that might be useful is print working directory, pwd. It tells us which folder we're working in. So right now we're working in the test video folder. This is the equivalent of me, clicking up here, and it shows me the file path that I'm in. Next thing, there is another cool command that I want to show you. So curl, it can allow you to, again, specify different flags. You can do curl dash dash help to learn about different flags, or you can ask ChatGPT about the different flags. So if you want, you can try downloading this data set, and it will show you a bunch of cool commands that will help you to work with the data, including moving it around, copying it, getting the first few lines, last few lines, and so on. There's also some cool commands like word count, which let you count the number of lines or words in the data. And a very essential tool, the only one that I'm going to stop to show you about, is grep. So grep is a tool that lets you control F, basically. I can control F something on here. So tests, I can control F that. Grep is the equivalent of control F on a command line. So let's say I have, like I showed you, man is very verbose. There are two things I can do about that. One, I can take the output of man, which usually goes to the screen like this, and I can, again, use the pipe operator to take that output and send it to grep. Then I can control F the thing that I want to search for within texts. So let's say I want to search for color. So I do that, and it will show me just a few lines that show me, what I'm looking for within a file. Grep is a lot more complicated than this. I'd encourage you to look it up. It can do a lot more. It can, search through different files. It can find a file name for you. It can do a lot more. Very, very useful command. The other thing I'll mention is another way to have, less to read. There's a cool command called TLDR. It gives you a TLDR of these man pages. So again, this is not installed, so brew install TLDR on macOS or sudo apt install TLDR on Linux. Again, I have this installed, so I don't need to do much here. I guess I don't have it installed for once, so I'm gonna press yes, and it's gonna install it. It's gonna take a little bit to install, but what TLDR does is it gives you, more brief summaries for the commands that you're using. It just gives you basically the examples. So let's say I want to do TLDR grep. It's going to download a bunch of stuff. The reason it's saying downloading TLDR pages is actually man, let's say grep. All of this stuff is online, so you can go to different sites and it will give you the very long thing. But you can also do TLDR grep, and all of this stuff is also online. So let's say I go here, it'll show me a bunch of stuff, but now it's downloaded it, so I can just look here. So it will give me just usage examples instead of all of the things. It's a much shorter summary. Of course, these days you can also ask ChatGPT, also a good option. Now, I think that's that. Again, all the stuff is linked in the description, so you can check out these other commands that I'm skipping over. The last command I want to talk about here is nano. Nano is a very, very simple text editor. So earlier, when I showed you how to create files like hello.txt, I just said, okay, echo something, one piece of text, and then use the redirection operator, this greater than sign, to put it into the file. Obviously, this is very slow and inefficient, on the computer, you would use Microsoft Word or something, or Google Docs, much more efficient. Now, on the terminal, on the command line, we don't have things like that. The things, they are debatedly more powerful than, Windows or Docs, but they're usually more complicated to use. There is one, we call this a command line editor, uh, word editor within the command line. One called Nano, which is a little bit simpler to use. You type in nano and then hello.txt. You may not have it installed, in which case brew install nano on Mac, or sudo apt install nano on here, Linux or WSL. So I'm going to do nano file, let's say nano hello.txt. I know that file already exists. So now I can type in here. So I'm using my arrow keys to navigate around. This is a test. I'm typing that out with my keyboard. You can see some shortcuts down here. So I can do, let's zoom out so I get more shortcuts. You can see the shortcuts are still not very helpful. So I'm pretty sure I can do Control S to save and then Control X to exit. So those are things I know. Maybe we do nano help. Oh boy. Yeah. So ask ChatGPT would be the answer here. So, um, or let's try TLDR. So TLDR slash nano. So nano TLDR or ask ChatGPT. So these are often being used because we don't have access to, again, point and click programs like Google Docs or Word. So we often have to do things like this. Okay. Are there any other important things? I think the only other important things you can read over. So that's the first video done on command line interfaces and package management. For the next workshop, we're going to get started by setting up Python and then learning a little bit more about Python specific things. Yeah, and also we'll learn about version management. So that'll be version workshop 2, and I'll see you in that video.